Remember that old man on where the construction site in Vermilion City? Well, he and his faithful Machop were flattening the ground for some mysterious construction project. They had apparently been at it for years. There is more to this tale. The story begins in Lavender Town. The Lavender Town chapter of Pokemon Red and Blue was short, but left a profound impact on the player. Team Rocket was at it again, stealing the skulls of Cubones in the tower, and locally celebrity by Mr. Fuji, who attempts to stop them but is easily subdued due to taken hostage. You have to valiant hero have to rescue Mr. Fuji and put an end to Team Rocket's infurious plot. Now the story was in juvenile. But there seemed to be much more of it. Perhaps it's the music that's played. It sounds quite simply like in Fear, a limited ambience which is intentionally not present elsewhere in the game. No wonder it is recalled such vividness. But for those who grew up playing the game, but it isn't curious that, for a town that is dedicated to preserving such a resting place of Pokemon, a mere 3 years later, the tower had been replaced with a radio tower. Lavender Town obviously had changed the first time when you traveled there in gold and silver. Aside from the aesthetic changes, the music now had a lighthearted and whimsical, but entirely different in the mood from the previous generation. But beneath the cheerful arrangement of the music was the same haunting melody. There were things that did appear. You see, there was more to Team Rocket's involvement than you had imagined. Lavender Town during the times of Red and Blue was struggling as it was shown during the draw. It didn't lack the Pokemon Gym or anything else to attract the tourists. Fuchsia had a safari zone, Pure had a museum, Cinnabar had a famous laboratory, and etc. But Lavender Town had a massive graveyard which was free to visit. Its fleetable Pokemart paled in comparison to the large Celadon City department store, which was easily accessible through the underground path to the west. Lavender Town was easily the poorest town in Kanto. One day, a businessman approached the mayor of Lavender Town with a proposition. The radio fad had been taken by a nearby Johto region by storm. He proposed the demolition of Pokemon Tower and the construction of the radio tower in its place. It would be entirely funded by the businessman's company, who built at it at no cost to Lavender Town. The mayor realized that this would greatly upset the residents, but he also realized that this was an opportunity for the prosperity. The town was so desperate, but then he accepted it, even with the condition that came to a businessman's plan. Cubones were indigenous to Lavender Town, and their skulls were extremely valuable to the market. The businessman's condition was that his organization would be allowed to hunt the Cubones. The profits from the skulls would fund in the construction of the radio tower. Who was the businessman? Giovanni? The mayor of Lavender Town? Mr. Fuji? Red was simply a pawn in the plot that he rescued Mr. Fuji in order to detect the growing suspicion of the involvement with Team Rocket. As he left the town, he continued his journey. Team Rocket quickly resumed the extermination of Cubones. Now, the plan then appears to be unconcerned with the souls that were resting a Pokemon that was anything built. Giovanni was, as any superstitious man, take over the Sifa company so that it was done by Team Rocket so they'd be able to enjoy the mass produce of the Sifa scopes, which would be distributed to the grunts involving with the Lavender Town project. Now, he believed to be demolishing the tower would disrupt the spirits of Pokemon aside, so he planned to construct a new tower. The bodies would be moved there before the demolition of the tower could take place. He knew a place that would be perfect for his new tower, an empty hill in Vermilion. Now, Giovanni hired a small independent construction company to build his own tower, so that the people would not suspect Team Rocket's involvement, and the old man's company would be a Pokemon labor force Machops. The construction was problematic. It suffered through a string of increasingly bizarre disasters. The funds originally located the company where they were lost in a bank robbery. There was even unexpected machine failures, as well as the deaths of several Machops. Months had passed and still the project making it seemingly no progress. The citizens of Vermilion, who had no idea of the construction was intended for, joked that it was cursed. This would definitely explain the continuing the tragedy that befell Machops who attacks that do not affect ghosts. Nonetheless, Giovanni refused to begin the construction of the radio tower until the bodies could be transferred to the new resting place. A greatest fear disturbing the spirits. Some of the followers who came to see him was delusional. They seemed to believe that the ghosts were trying to communicate with him, and had in fact disturbed the spirits already, causing their activity in Vermilion. His defeat in the hands of Red, a 10-year-old boy, who violated his proper apprehensions so he could no longer lead an organization that expected him to carry out a plan that now featured consequences of it. He religiously with his power and then disappeared. The newer leaders of Team Rocket shared a few superstitions and apprehensions, but the tower was easily demolished the next day. Strangely, the old man who owned Vermilion City constructed a company died the same day. The construction site was upon that hill that remains of Vermilion City. It is abandoned, a flat patch of earth, barren, and except for a few tombstones underneath the deceased Machops lay. The only feature resembles the plant of the Pokemon that never was. People visit their uneasiness. Some claim to hear a faint, a very sad melody. Most avoid this place, but occasionally travel from Johto, unknowingly stumble upon it. They claim to see an old man, a Machop continuously stomping to the ground flat for an important construction project. And that, my little pretties, was Vermilion City Construction Project, a Pokepasta. My final thoughts on this story? I actually found this story to be rather interesting for what this story really was. Like, when I really, saw this story, I actually found this story to be quite interesting for what it was. Now, the fact that I could definitely say that the story actually portrayed pretty good concept with everything that has happened, it's actually pretty interesting as to why we don't see, the town, well, the Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town in Gold and Silver, and even Crystal. This is actually one of the reasons why you don't see that, and this is very believable, to say the least. This is actually a believable concept for what it is. Now, I kind of remember, seeing this, in some other channels. I think a few other channels have sat there and narrated this, so I thought I would go out of my way and, narrate it because I just thought of it. So, what this story really was, I actually found this one to be quite amazing and really well done. Now, I could definitely say that the story had a lot of good potential with, how everything was going the way it did. It actually, portrays a pretty good story. Now, with that being the case, I could definitely say that this story was actually very believable to an extent. It actually had a lot of believability into this concept, so I definitely have to say it's actually a pretty good concept for what this story really was. It actually, plays out well with, how everything went out. It was really well done. It actually was pretty interesting for this story. So, with that being the case, I know this is probably an old pasta, to be honest. I'm not sure when this pasta was actually made, but it was a really old pasta for what it is, but it's still a pretty good story. So, I could definitely say that the story itself was absolutely amazing, really well made in detail, and it was actually a very well made concept. So it's most likely been made, sometime, I guess, let me see. I guess the earliest that this story was made was probably in the probably 2014, 2013. Wait a second. Yeah, it was made in 2013 or something. So I could definitely say, even though this was an old story, this story was actually very well made in detail. Like, I really do appreciate the good grammar in this story, along with the sentence structuring, the storyline. Basically, everything about it was just flat out amazing. Especially with, how the concept went out. It's just really well made in detail. So I could definitely say that I really do like how this story went out. It's believable, very well made in detail. It actually played out pretty good with the story. It's just really well made. So I could definitely say right now that this story was obviously a pretty good made story for what it is. Now, I could definitely say that even though the story did not have any cliches, well, maybe it might have had a few, maybe just one or two, but I'm gonna say right now, I just can't really, point out what the cliches were in this story. I definitely have to say, this story was actually really well made and detailed. It played a really good concept and part in it, so I definitely have to say, this was actually a pretty good story. I really do appreciate, the good grammar of this story and, how it all went out. It was really well made, very good in detail. I really do like how, everything went out. It's just went really well done, really well made, and the story actually had a lot of time and effort into the story. So that's definitely actually one of the reasons why I really do like how the concept of the story went out. It's really well made and detailed, very well done, awesome, and pretty good. So with that being the case and with that being said, yeah, I'm gonna sit there and say right now that this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that is fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepy pastas, and this is just simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of the story would have to be a 10 out of 10. Great creepypasta, a very enjoyable pokepasta, very well made and detailed. It was believable because there was like a lot of believability in it. There was definitely a pretty good thing going for it. Flat out amazing. And it was very well written in detail. And I do like the description of how, everything went out. It is just amazing. So I could definitely say to the author, you did a really good job with this story. And by the way, since I don't know who the original author is, I'm just going to leave it anonymous for now. If I do find out who the original author is, then I'll be sure to sit there and give him or her proper credit, because this was an awesome story. So, anyways, with that being said and with that being the case, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done person to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. And don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, because you guys will not miss an upload if you ring the bell. So with that being said, and with that being the case, as always, please roll the outro, because I'm out.